All right, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Engineering Major, Philosophy Minor. EMPM is the channel where you can get working aerospace engineers' opinions on topics pertaining to engineering, philosophy, politics, and other social issues. So hopefully this will be a relatively quick video. Actually, it may end up being like 20 minutes, but I was going onto the YouTubes and I came across this. I'm laughing about it already because apparently Time has named the person of the year, singular person, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Guys, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have not done anything. They haven't done anything. You're going to name, and then let's just talk about Joe Biden for a second. You're going to name Joe Biden person of the year. In 2020, Joe Biden has gaffed on so many different things. He's rambled off into oblivion when he's trying to speak to the public. He said things that completely don't make any sense. He's messed up words. Just the other day, it was either yesterday or the day before, he mispronounced Javier Becerra's name and he called him Javier Baccaria, which is just ridiculous. Joe Biden, the guy who had to have the presidential debate rules changed because he just couldn't handle himself. The guy who's literally switched his position on every single policy prescription that he's ever held. And the biggest policy prescription that Joe Biden ever put forth or worked on was this crime bill, which ended up disproportionately affecting African Americans. So now in 2020, he actually condemns himself for the crime bill, even though it actually reduced crime. It's absolutely unbelievable. And then of course, I guess it should be the Time Persons of the Year, because now they're also going to name Kamala Harris as a Person of the Year. Yeah, really interesting stuff that Kamala Harris has been involved on, namely calling Joe Biden himself, basically calling him a racist in the Democratic debates, being one of the initial people to have to drop out of, the Democratic primaries or whatever. And then, of course, visiting someone in the hospital who was a criminal and resisted arrest and ended up getting shot, and basically saying that Kamala Harris said that the crimes that he had committed, he was actually just part of a wonderful family, and nothing had gone awry except for the brutal racist police or whatever. So we've got some pretty interesting picks for Time Person of the Year here, but what I wanted to do in this video is just kind of react real time to this video. So I'm going to go ahead and just start playing it.
Time has always had a special connection to the presidency. Every elected president...
Okay. With the exception of President Trump, I think. I have to pause the video already.
Since FDR has been Person of the Year at some point during their term. This is the first time we've also named a vice president as Person...
Oh, I guess Trump was Person of the Year at one point in time. He should actually be Person of the Year again because just this week, a fourth historic peace deal. My God. That guy just keeps on working, even though it could potentially be his final days in office. Yeah.
Of the year. The Biden-Harris ticket represents something historic.
Thank you for the honor.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Person of the
What's so historic about it? It's a president and a vice president.
The year is not just about the year that was, but about where we're headed. And
we're headed towards socialism and authoritarian control of all the businesses and higher taxes and relaxation of foreign policy and basically just sending buckets of cash over to countries like Iran and our allies. Yeah, having people be in bed with China, and yeah, it's really remarkable.
The next 4 years are going to be an enormous test of them and all of us to see whether they can bring about the unity they've promised.
Yeah, it will certainly be a test about of bringing about the unity that they've promised, because For the past 4 years, they have been calling Trump, and they have been calling Trump supporters and conservatives and other Republicans completely racist. They've been calling the American system systemically racist. They've been calling us against immigration, against minorities. They've been saying that we're part of death cults if we, don't agree with coronavirus lockdowns. They've said that we are grandma killers. They've said that we shouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving and other holiday gatherings. They have censored plenty of conservative voices. They have slandered many conservative voices. They have called us white supremacists. I think the unity thing is going to be definitely a big challenge because nothing that they have done or said in the last 4 years has been unifying in any way.
Do you think this is a do or die moment for democracy?
This moment was one of those do or die moments. Had Trump won, I think we would have changed the nature of who we are as a country for a long time.
You have always been so action-oriented.
Okay. The Democrats are the ones that are always talking about changing the fundamental undergirdings of America. So, and then we conservatives over here, we actually kind of like free speech and the Second Amendment, and we don't think that the country is systemically racist, and we kind of just want to run our businesses and live our lives and have lower taxes and, not have open borders and not have socialism and stuff like that. When we go out and protest, we're not burning down buildings and stuff. And of course, Joe Biden has referenced a couple of neo-Nazis and white supremacists who obviously that is bad stuff in Charlottesville multiple times, but that is an extremely small group of people that only happened once. And then we had riots and looting on the left for months. All the law-abiding citizens had to be locked down and are still continuing to be locked down. And even just recently, a far-left groups tried to start another autonomous zone. There was one in Seattle and there was one in Portland. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I'm pretty sure that it's Democrats who are the ones who want to fundamentally change the democracy.
Yeah. So what is the first thing that you want to do in that role?
We're at a moment where we're being confronted by many crises that have converged. We're talking about a public health crisis. We are in the midst of an economic crisis, long overdue.
Okay, I cannot stand this this dichotomy that gets drawn, or this juxtaposition that gets drawn between the economic crisis and the coronavirus crisis, because it is not the coronavirus. I've made a couple of videos about this too. I refuse to say that coronavirus is the reason why the economy slowed down. The reason why the economy has slowed down, and it's actually picked back up remarkably. Of course, now Democrat states are ruining everything again, but it's the government response that was responsible for the massive economic downturn, not the virus itself. How do I know this? Because even with the virus itself, people still choose to go on travel. I was just on business travel last week. People still choose to go get takeout and delivery from restaurants, right? People still choose to go to the gym. So obviously, if it was the virus itself that was preventing anybody from doing anything, then people would just not do anything, right? But the free market wants to be the free market. It's the government that is stopping economic activity, not the coronavirus.
Reckoning on racial injustice and a climate crisis.
Okay, so here we go with these 4 crises things again, which is something that Kamala Harris just took right out of Joe Biden's mouth, apparently, talking about the racial justice thing. So let's just keep watching. This is just...
We got a lot of things that we need to handle, and we multitask to address them all.
Biden was running on a message of unity and healing. at a moment when the country was sicker and more divided than almost any time in American history.
This obviously was an election like no other, a campaign like no other.
The question is, radical left. Will you shut up, man?
The country.
Oh, that's a great... I'm actually surprised that they put that in there. Because that's Joe Biden right there, just, you know, not even being able to handle himself. Not able to put together a coherent argument against Trump. Not that Trump did a great job in this debate, but Joe Biden just not even able to come up with good arguments, having to back down. And then in the second debate, of course, they changed the rules to hopefully benefit Joe Biden, which it's absolutely pathetic, you know. I have no respect for Joe Biden at all. Not as a president, not as a man.
Is in deep trouble, and Donald Trump was just a symptom to reveal how deep the trouble actually is.
Oh my God, this is here we go, dude. Donald Trump is just the symptom of all the trouble. What? Just acting like everybody who supports Trump is, you know, a neo-Nazi and a white supremacist and hates black people. It's so frustrating, you know.
Joe Biden saw what happened in Charlottesville.
Okay, so they take this clip from Charlottesville, where it's like the last group of white supremacists that exists, maybe even on the planet. And where's all the footage of Antifa and Black Lives Matter burning down buildings and stuff? Maybe they'll get to that.
As a symptom of a deeper American disease that only he could fix.
They are blowing so much smoke up this guy's rear end, man. It's so gross. Like, he hasn't done anything. He's been in office for 50 years. He was the vice president with the first black president who got elected for 2 terms. And they're saying that there's a symptom of a disease as a result of what? Just because of Trump? I mean, hate to break it to you guys, but there's those of us like me who liked President Trump. In fact, I didn't like President Trump at first, and then I grew to like him because he started doing things that were pretty good, and also because the media was just so negative towards him, right? Saying that every single thing that Trump did was, you know, disgusting and horrible and racist and all this stuff. But then I was getting a bigger paycheck because my taxes were reduced and the economy was doing great. My 401k was doing awesome. And then our allies started paying us money. And then Trump walks into North Korea to meet with Kim Jong-un. And then all of a sudden there's these historic peace deals. And in terms of coronavirus, I mean, Trump instituted such a big government response. Like, there's nothing anyone could do more. And everything in Joe Biden's playbook is exactly what Trump has already done.
I am convinced that the American public is looking for the possibilities that are available out there. They know we're so much better than this. When I ran, I said, this is about who.
We're so much better than what? Like, us Trump supporters think that we're doing fine. That's why we wanted 4 more years of Trump, because we wanted 4 more years of something good that we thought was happening. It's just like, they want to say unity, but they're not saying anything unifying. Because by suggesting that we need to be so much better than this is suggesting that we're somehow horrible people and bad right now.
Who we are as a nation, who we're going to be, what we want to be. And the American people stepped up.
Oh, okay, so they stepped up. Oh my gosh, make America respected again? I'm pretty sure that, like, you know, ally nations actually paying us the money that they owe us and picking up some of the slack on their own defense spending, like, I'm pretty sure that is an indication of respect.
It starts at the top. And if you see a divisive leader, it trickles down.
The worst job.
Okay, so now here we go. Like they want to say unifying, and then they just say that Trump is a divisive leader. Well, no, like it's who has Trump been trying to censor? Who has Trump been? What media company did Trump take down? What left person? What radical left person did Trump silence? What part of creating opportunity zones for Black Americans, funding historically Black colleges indefinitely, pardoning several Black Americans who had like egregious prison sentences and stuff like that. Like, what are you guys talking about?
Of any governor, fake news media.
The words of a president.
True, they are fake news.
Doesn't matter whether they're good presidents or bad for them.
Oh, Joe Biden wants to say the words of how about pressure and healthcare or whatever he said. How about pronouncing the name of the people who he wants to put in his cabinet or whatever correctly, right? Like, don't those words matter? How about Joe Biden saying that he's going to end oil and fossil fuels in the next 10 to 15 years? Doesn't that matters, right, Joe? What?
It mattered. When I first announced my candidacy, what I got most criticized for was I said we had to unite America, that we weren't going to respond to hate with hate. We had to restore the soul of the country. And I never came off that message because that's my objective.
Well, if the soul of the country is just, your son's corruption and you flying around potentially benefiting from it and stuff like that, that doesn't, the soul of the country isn't, just the status quo, dirty Democrat politician, thing, right? Like, what values do you have, Joe Biden? Like, that's what I honestly want to know. Like, you can't just say, like, oh, let's, refresh the soul of the nation, and then literally not, like, speak out on any of, like, the core constitutional values that you want to engender in your presidency.
The promise of a Biden candidacy was always about turning the clock back to a sort of gentler, more civil, more decent time in American politics. But the divisions don't end when the election does.
Okay.
What a testament it is to Joe's character that he had the audacity to break one of the most substantial barriers that exists in our country and select a woman as his vice president.
Kamala, don't you want to know that you were selected because you were qualified and not just simply because of like one of your immutable characteristics, that being gender? And I thought the whole... Well, how about you just tell us your pronouns, Kamala, so we know for sure what your gender is too. I mean...
Kamala takes us to that next chapter from the moment she walked across that stage. She is someone that we've never seen before in one of the top 2 jobs in the country.
Okay, but Kamala Harris has had, like, one of the top 2 jobs in California for tons of time. Like, oh, God.
I get frustrated because dozens of nations have had women in their
let's hear from Cory Booker now.
Highest offices.
Let's hear from
we
him.
have not, and I'm proud that he made it plain early that I'm going to choose a woman to be my vice president, and in that, boom, he's now changed American history.
I look for someone who, if in fact something happened to me, I knew they could take over. That's Kamala. Look, she is straight as an arrow. She is really, really bright.
Oh, she's straight. She's straight as an arrow. So when she jailed all those people for marijuana offenses and then bragged about it, on the air, and then also went on the air saying, like, she was on the air with some of these rappers on a radio show trying to be all cool and hip and saying that, like, she's, you know, puffed the magic dragon a couple times herself, man. Like, oh my god, give me a break, dude. How can you guys talk about unity with this shit?
She is tough, but yet she has a heart.
She's tough as in she lusts for power, like a Sith Lord.
That understands what it's like to be on the other side of prejudice.
This is a moment in time that is requiring us to fight.
Joe?
Oh yeah, Kamala Harris has sure had a rough life, man. She's been a lifelong politician, making millions off the taxpayer, doing what? Nothing. Just jailing a bunch of people.
Understands that we have different life experiences, but we also have an incredible amount of shared values. We both have spent our entire careers in public service, and I think that's...
Okay, wait, Kamala, talk about your values for a second. What are the shared values? Let's hear them.
what makes ours a full and very robust partnership.
Okay. Oh, I didn't hear any values. Did you guys? I didn't hear a value like you want to stand by your word. Like you want to, you know, be honest with the American people. Like you want to be tough on this issue or that issue. That you want to stand up for what you believe in. I didn't hear any values there. I just heard we're both lifelong politicians. Oh, congratulations. That's why Trump got elected, is because he wasn't a lifelong politician.
Some of the criticisms of him were whether the black community could trust him to look after their interests. And so putting the first African-American woman on a presidential ticket was a way of repairing that breach in some ways.
Why is that a way that it repairs the breach? Joe Biden said that another Republican was going to put black people back in chains, just negligently. Joe Biden was responsible for the crime bill that incarcerated a lot of black Americans. Now, and then he went back on it, and he says that it's bad, right? Joe Biden said, if you vote Donald Trump, then you ain't black. Joe Biden said that the black community, or maybe it was the Latino community, I don't remember, but he said one of these communities thinks like a monolith, in so many words. That's not the exact quote, so fact check it, whatever. When talking about Barack Obama, Joe Biden said that Obama was like the first put together black person that like he had ever met or something like that. I mean, how does just simply making a black person a vice president like make amends for that? Like, how come Joe Biden doesn't have to answer for that in the same way that Trump had to condemn white supremacy literally every hour on the hour for 4 years straight, and then people still called him a racist? It's just, it's unbelievable. This is unbelievable stuff to me, you guys. It really is.
We want to see it for what it is, because Kamala Harris, it's important that she's there, but we need to see policies. We need to understand the limitations of a certain kind of representational politics. They're going to have to address the fundamental inequality at the heart of the country, and then they're going to have to figure out how to finally rid us of this belief that white people matter more than others.
What? Okay. I was pretty much on board with what this guy was saying until that last part. He's like, they're gonna have to figure out a way to address, you know, the fact that, what did he say exactly? I don't remember what he said exactly, but it was something to the effect of like, they're gonna have to address the thing that I just talked about, which is like, you can't just elect someone as a representative and then call it a day. You know, like you actually have to affect change and do things, right? But then he moves on to say, we need to like change this fundamental belief that white people matter more than black people in this country. Who honestly believes that? Like please, Oh my gosh, like please find me like the mass number of people that honestly believes that. Like please find me the industry that openly disregards black people in favor of white people. Please find me the business that like won't hire, that specifically won't hire black people. Like please find me the educational institution that doesn't take black applicants. I mean, give me a break, right? And of course the argument's going to be, well, look at, you know, police and like look at how many black people are shot. More white people are shot. Black people commit more violent crime. It's just, it's in the data. It's in the statistics. Now you can say like, oh, well, you know, the statistics are rigged against black people too. Okay, fine. But I'm just going on the data that I have. So what's your real data then?
What do you say to black Americans, immigrants, others who feel victimized by the Trump administration and have no interest in uniting with Trump supporters?
Okay, well, Trump actually made huge gains in the black community, in the Latino community, in the various South American and Central American communities.
When George Floyd occurred, I was cautioned by some really smart people, you know, don't go out and talk about racial inequity, systematic racism, don't mention it because you're going to lose the suburbs. My argument all along was the American people do want to see justice. And they understood things were out of whack and they had to change.
Okay, so when you saw George Floyd, Joe Biden, we were just talking about values earlier. So when George Biden saw George Floyd, the immediate question that he asked himself is, what message do I need to send to win votes, rather than just taking a step back and looking at it from like just a purely moral, value-driven point of view, which is like, okay, it's awful that this happened. This is clearly was probably poor action by the cop. Why don't we let the justice system play out, which it did, find out more facts of the case, and then we'll make a determination. And in the meantime, we should be assuring people that black lives do matter and that this was one instance in the millions and millions of interactions that police have with black people every year, you know, hundreds of thousands a day, which don't go this way, right? Like, that would have been a unifying message. But now Joe Biden himself is admitting that all he cares about is what voting base he gets. Oh, well, what message do I send? Oh, I'll lose the suburbs if you know, like I can't really say what I really think because I'll lose the suburbs. God, Joe, you know, just grow a pair and say what you actually think. You know? I mean, everybody gives Trump a bunch of crap because he spews off and he says some things that are oftentimes like very ridiculous and kind of alarming to the ear at first. But at least he's being authentic. At least he's saying what he really thinks. And you vote for him, you don't vote for him, he doesn't care. He's just going to do work. You know? That's the attitude that we need. Somebody who has a vision, stands by what they believe, and executes that vision. And then you have Joe Biden, who doesn't value anything except the vote. And Kamala said earlier in this video, we're both lifelong politicians. That's all politicians care about, is the vote.
This was a pandemic election, and we have to realize that we got victory here because the most oppressed and suppressed voters fought like hell to make it happen.
That is just like not really true by exit polling data. Well, is it true or is it not true? Actually, may go back on something I said there, but
part of what I think settles some of these questions is to work your behinds off for a more just America.
What's not just about America right now? What's not just? For you guys watching, I want you guys to think about, I hope that all of you have gone to jury duty, because this was a very eye-opening experience for me. In jury duty, you realize how fair the American system is. There is the jury selected is intended to be diverse, sometimes, and strictly ethnically diverse, like not even diversity of ideas. And sometimes that actually works to the jury's detriment, because people feel sympathy because they match the same racial group rather than looking at the actual evidence and looking at the crimes committed. Now, that this is an opinion of mine, but let's take George Floyd, for example. Yes, it's horrible that someone died. Now, the whole point of the justice system is so that we don't just have mob rule and we don't just go like murder the cops after they murdered a guy. We do an investigation, we take it to court, we have a jury, we have evidence review, we have all this stuff. And that's exactly what is afforded to every American, no matter their skin color, right? That's the whole point of the Civil Rights Act.
I don't think there's ever been a president and vice president to take office in a moment like this where we don't just disagree on issues, we disagree on basic facts. What happens to the American experiment in this kind of chaos?
None of us should be waiting on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to fix everything. We are the people for this moment.
Okay. I made a video earlier on this channel. This is painful, man. Wow, it's already a 32-minute long video, so if you guys made it this far, thank you. I made a video earlier about how President Trump doesn't control your life, right? No president controls your life. And what this woman is saying makes perfect sense. You're in control of your own life. In America, you're free to pursue whatever passion you want as long as it doesn't infringe or prevent other passions from other people being explored. It doesn't violate rights, you don't break the law, etc. Obviously, there's going to be constraints to the problem of life, but that's what makes life so interesting, is that you're able to operate within those constraints and hopefully make something beautiful out of it, right? So she's here saying that, oh, well, the president doesn't control my life. So why were you guys complaining about Trump for every single little thing and making it seem like it was the absolute end of the world, fascist Hitlerian takeover of the U.S., and it's just going to become destitute, you know, new neo-Nazi Germany or something like that for every single little thing that Trump did. And then now that a Democrat's elected, you're just going to openly admit that, like, the president can't actually do much to influence your own personal life. Guys, get out of here. Like, how can you possibly... Of course we can't unite over something like that. Of course we can't. It's just, it's so patently absurd.
The goal is a more just America. And people can not only dream dreams, but can make those dreams a reality.
You know, my mother had many sayings, but one of them was, well, you may be the first to do many things, make sure you're not the last. That's about legacy. That's about creating a pathway. That's about leaving the door more open than it was when you walked in.
Okay, well, you'll leave the door more closed if you start enacting all this radical socialist crap and defunding the police. I can tell you that much. Is 537% increase in carjackings leaving the door open positively? Get real.
I think this is an opportunity to establish that out of our diversity comes enormous, enormous strength. We're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow. Bring a better day.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Notice how there was literally nothing in that video. There were two areas of this video that were just completely vapid. One is that at no point in the video do they mention why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are deserving of the title of person or people of the year. So that's one way. And then the second way is that neither of them actually said anything of any substance. They just talked about racial justice a bunch. Okay, how are you going to make the country more just, right? Is it going to be by defunding the police, which in the cities where this is being enacted has already resulted in problems? Are you going to make the country more just by not taking any action against groups like Antifa? Joe Biden patently denies that Antifa is even a group. And then I see headlines and news stories, of course not on the mainstream media, but about how there's going to be like some pro-Trump march or something like that, and Antifa is organizing against it. Well, I thought they were just an idea, Joe. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know a lot of this was just like me ranting in the middle of the video. Maybe some of you guys will agree, maybe some of you guys will disagree. Leave comments below, and of course, give me a subscribe, a like, or a comment, or a share, or whatever, all that good stuff. But honestly, like, I've been having some like trouble with like finding motivation lately, due to like some other stuff not related to politics. But when I saw this video, or when I just saw the title of the video, I was like, all right, well, I'm inspired now, because this is insane. These people haven't done anything, and they just get like the red carpet and rose petals sprinkled everywhere with rainbows flying around them about how like amazing they are for just like simply existing. Whereas Trump actually instituted actionable things that benefited people's lives over and over and over again, 4 years in a row. And he, of course, was trashed for literally every single thing that he did, regardless of whether or not it benefited anyone. It's just absolute left-wing propaganda. And you guys might disagree with that statement, but seriously think about it. Like, because you guys are smarter than this stuff, for sure. A lot of you guys are probably smarter than me. But just think about it for a second. How is it possible that 72 million people are racist, bigoted, and only want Trump because they want to see the persisting of a system that is only responsible for inequality, both in terms of financial resources and in terms of racial justice and all this BS, like, and climate whatever. Like, you can't possibly square that with like the actual realities of the situation. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have a good night. Hopefully be back at you guys with another video this weekend. And yeah, talk to you guys soon. Later.